Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Today's story is the story of the first Thanksgiving. All through the first summer and early part of autumn, the Pilgrims were busy and happy. They had planted and cared for their first fields of corn. They had found wild strawberries in the meadows, raspberries on the hillsides, and wild grapes in the woods. In the forest, just back of the village, wild turkeys and deer were easily shot. In the shallow waters of the bay, there was plenty of fish, clams, and lobsters. The summer had been warm, with a good deal of rain and much sunshine, and so when the autumn came, there was a fine crop of corn. "Let us gather the fruits of our first labors, and rejoice together," said Governor Bradford.
"Yes,"
said Elder Brewster.
"let us take a day upon which we may be thankful for all our blessings, and invite to it our Indian friends, who have been so kind to us."
The Pilgrims said that one day was not enough, so they planned to have a celebration for a whole week. This took place most likely in October. The great Indian chief Massaus came with 90 of his bravest warriors, all happy, dressed in deer skins, feathers, and foxtails, with their faces smeared with red, white, and yellow paint. As a sign of rank, Massaus wore round his neck a string of bones. In his belt he carried a long knife. His face was painted red, and his hair was so daubed with oil that Governor Bradford said, "He looks greasy." Now there were only 11 buildings in the whole of Plymouth Village, 4 log storehouses, and 7 little log dwelling houses, so the Indian guests ate and slept outdoors. This was no matter, for it was one of those warm weeks in the season we call Indian summer. To supply meat for the occasion, 4 men had already been sent out to hunt wild turkeys. They killed enough in one day to last the whole company almost a week. Massaus helped the feast along by sending some of his best hunters into the woods. They killed 5 deer, which they gave to their friends, that all might have enough to eat. Under the trees were built long, strong tables on which were piled baked clams, broiled fish, roast turkey, and deer meat. In the daytime, the young men ran races, played games, and had a shooting match. Every night, the Indians sang and danced for their friends. And to make things still more lively, they gave every now and then a shrill war whoop that made the woods echo in the still night air. The Indians had already learned to love and fear Captain Miles Standish. Some of them called him Boiling Water because he was easily made angry. Others called him Captain Shrimp on account of his small size. Every morning, the shrewd captain put on his armor and paraded his little company of a dozen or more soldiers. And when he fired off the cannon on Burial Hill, the Indians must have felt that the English were men of might, thus to harness up thunder and lightning. During this week of fun and frolic, it was a wonder if young Jack Brillington did not play some prank on the Indians. He was the boy who fired off his father's gun one day close to a keg of gunpowder in the crowded cabin of the Mayflower. The third day came. Massaus had been well treated, and no doubt would have liked to stay longer, but he had said he could stay only 3 days. Then, taking their presents of glass beads and trinkets, the Indian king and his warriors said farewell to their English friends and began their long trip through the woods to their wigwams on Mount Hope Bay. The first Thanksgiving took place nearly 300 years ago. Since that time, almost without interruption, Thanksgiving has been kept by the people of New England as the great family festival of the year, and also throughout the world in some places. At this time, children and grandchildren return to the old home. The long table is spread, and brothers and sisters, separated often by many miles, again sit side by side with their family, and everyone expresses what they're grateful for. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a happy Thanksgiving. If you like the stories, hit the subscribe button, and you'll get a notification when the next story comes out next Friday.